Welcome to another episode of Two Generations, One Mic. Please, guys, if you haven't done it, follow us on every single social media platform: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. The handle is at Two Generations, One Mic, just like our logo. And also follow us along to keep interacting with us. And we really appreciate all the support.
Yeah, it's actually totally free, so that's good. And we want the ideas because people always hit us up privately and say, "You should do an episode about this. You should do an episode about that." If there's something you want to hear us do an episode about, we're more than happy to look into that and enjoy and engage with you in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Today's episode is not such a fun one, but I think we thought about talking about this. Um, I think the other day we were talking about rough childhoods, and I gotta say, I am lucky. I'm one of those lucky kids that I think I had a pretty normal childhood per se. I mean, I was the only child, so I really never had to deal with siblings or anything else. My dad was a great dad. My mom, a little bit of a rough mom, like Latin crazy mom, but still nothing too crazy. And
At least she's consistent.
yeah, at least she's still a
She
crazy
lives with
Latin
us,
mom.
so I can vouch that she still treats you like you're 10
I
years
know.
old.
I mean, I don't have kids, so she says that when you have kids, they're always your babies until the end. I guess I don't know, but yeah, like I think I had a pretty normal childhood. I mean, I was bullied in school, but that's a whole other story. Uh, and we were talking about that, and after all these years we've been together, it came up. You don't talk a lot about it, but you talk enough about it. Um, that I'm always wondering, how was your childhood growing up the way you did?
Well, I don't talk about it a lot. I don't even really talk about it with friends or, but probably a lot of friends or that listen or watch that wouldn't even know this about my childhood growing up. But it was not, especially my earlier childhood, it was not pleasant. So I was adopted when my adopted parents were in their late 40s, early 50s, and they adopted me as a baby. And, I've heard all kind of stories about, like I searched forever to find out, my real parents, biological parents and all that stuff. And, all that entailed. And that wasn't a lovely thing either, that I end up finding out kind of what the biological mother was all about. But my adopted parents, they were older. And so, and I'm old now. So it's like, when they had me or when they got me adopted as a baby, and I don't even know, how legal that was at the time. Cause it's like they just paid for the ladies to have the baby and they did some
Here you go.
thing and they paid the bills and this and that and the other. They had some lawyer drafted the thing. And I don't know if it was just like a thing she sold me. I have no idea how it went down. And at that time, you're talking about the early 60s,
Right.
that things were different. People didn't keep track of things, and it was just a different time. But I'm not saying that that my adopted parents didn't love me. Of course they did. My father, I always was very much closer to my father. My mother and I were not really close when I was younger, growing up, and there was a lot of reason for that. She was. When I was young, she was a raging alcoholic. I mean, a raging alcoholic, and it was bad. So I remember because I grew up in Texas, and they didn't sell whiskey. They still don't. I think they still don't. They still don't sell alcohol on Sundays. It's like Jesus Christ,
they
what
don't.
year?
Yeah,
no, they don't. I just remember that. I was like, what year? Are
Only
we
beer
in?
and wine.
Yeah, only beer and wine in Texas, and these stupid liquor laws they have here. But anyway, so
Hey, you have to praise the Jesus to do that.
So anyway, we. On Sundays, they would literally, my mother I remember she drank Old Granddad, which is a whiskey. And
That was the name of the whiskey?
That's the whiskey. They
Old
still sell
Granddad?
it. I think if they still sell it, I don't know. But anyway, we used to go on Sundays to the bootlegger, is what it was called, that they would sell. He would sell her whiskey on a Sunday. And so that she would go there to get her.
What was that?
It's called a bootlegger.
Like a like
Well,
a
that's been
hidden?
yeah, it was like a hidden thing. We had to go there, and they would
But
sell.
was it like a store or?
No, it wasn't like a speakeasy. It wasn't like the cool speakeasies of now. No, it wasn't a store. It was just a guy's house. Yeah, yeah. You just
Ah,
pull up to his house,
so it's
and
like a
he
dealer, right? Like a
yeah, he's
drug
like a
dealer.
dealer, but he's dealing whiskey on the weekends. So on Sundays, but
Wow.
that was way back then. God, that was crazy. But that was just one of the things there. But she would get so drunk, and my dad would drink too, but not to the point that she was. He was trying to always stop her from going too far, to slow down. And
Mm.
she would just get crazy. And I remember, I have these horrible memories of I was probably 5, 6 years old, but I still remember it. 5, 6, 7 years old, where she would get into fights and like, oh, you're not going to go get me more. And she would literally pull giant cleavers or knives out of the thing and go after him. And she tried to stab him one night I'm a little kid just watching this all go on in front of me. He's trying to calm her down. She's swinging a cleaver at him.
So she was not the alcoholic that just fall asleep.
No,
That
she was the
violent one.
let's fight alcoholic. That's what she was. And
I'm
so
sorry.
she tried to like attack my father, and he was trying to like fend her off, and she fell down, broke her arm that night. There were times where she had alcohol poisoning twice. She almost died. We had to go to the hospital. She was in the hospital for a week because she had alcohol poisoning. It was so bad. When I was still in junior high, I had made the honor society. And it was the ceremony of the honor of being inducted into the honor society. And I remember I didn't get to go to that ceremony because she was so drunk on the couch that I thought she was going to overdose. And I was taking care of her. She was throwing up on the couch all day, so I couldn't even go to school. I had to just stay home and take care of her. So I missed my ceremony because I was taking care of her. Also, when I was about 7 to 8 years old, I remember going to the beach with her in Galveston and a bunch of her friends. My dad wasn't there with us, and we went to camp on the beach in Galveston. She got so drunk at the thing, she just walked into the ocean in the pitch black at
Oh
night.
my gosh.
And I'm walking down the beach just crying and screaming. I think she's dead.
Oh God.
And I couldn't find anybody to help me because I didn't know. She just walked into the ocean in the dark.
and
It came back later, but it was like, that's a
Jesus.
lot for a 6-year-old to have to process. And that was rough. There were a lot of those type incidences that happened. You want to know why I'm so claustrophobic to this day?
Oh,
It's
I know
because
you
when I
are.
was 7 years old, I didn't want to take a nap or something, and she was trying to make me take a nap, and I started crying. But she was so drunk in the middle of the afternoon that she literally held me down with a pillow over my head and my arms, and I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to die, but she had me trapped underneath the pillow to make me shut up from crying.
Yeah,
And
now
I thought,
sometimes until this day, sometimes I lean on top of
oh
you,
yeah,
and
or
you're like,
you
no,
cry-
no, 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 no,
yeah,
no.
when you like, if I'm underneath the covers, and how many times I told you that
Yeah.
you come and jump on me while I'm under the covers, I'll
Yeah.
throw you off the bed.
Yeah, you
because
do.
I have this fear that that's going to happen to me again, and so I was never a woe is me. I had this horrible thing. That's a lot of the way she was growing up when I was a kid, and so she wouldn't go to the baseball games and things like. My dad was at every one of my baseball games as a kid and all that stuff, always there, and always, my dad was always around. And even though he worked and everything else, he never hit me. My mother loved to get drunk and beat me with a belt and things like that. It was
Well, my mother
yeah.
beat me too.
yeah, but this was I don't know.
And she wasn't even drunk, so I don't know what's worse.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a rough time, but I have to give her this, is that she realized that she was what she was doing. It took her almost dying several times and what was going on. But she realized that when I was a mid-teenager, probably 15, 16, something like that. Anyway, she went to AA and she went to get help.
Or as I call it, double A.
Yeah, double A. She went to double A. But she went to AA.
Yeah.
And she ended up, I have to give it to her for having such a horrible younger childhood that still affects me today, some of those memories, to by the time I was about 15, for the rest of her life, she was in AA. And she was sober for 30-something years. And she ended up helping thousands of women get off alcohol.
That's good.
And ended up speaking at conventions for thousands of women, and that she helped. and got them sober and got them to help their lives and change their life. And she was a completely different person when she was sober. Drunk, sober, two different people.
Well,
And
most people are like
yeah,
that.
so she continued to basically, that was her penance, to not only get better, but to help other people get away from what she was
Mm.
trapped. And so I was very familiar with AA and all that. And I think maybe it was like when I was 13, 14, maybe. I'm trying to think back because she made us all jump in. So when you do that, there's AA, which for the alcoholic. There's the Al-Anon, which is for the spouse.
Mm.
You go to meetings, the spouse goes to meetings. My dad went to some of those meetings to learn how to deal with that. And then there's Alateen. So as teenagers, we had our own meetings. But remember, this is the 70s. This is the early 1970s, early to mid 1970s. So we were in meetings with teenagers in a small little room, smaller than this, and everybody's smoking.
Ugh.
I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. You're all teenagers and you're smoking in this tiny little room with no windows. Are you trying to kill me?
Yeah.
And it was like, my mother's like, why don't you like going to those meetings? I don't know, because they're killing me with cancer. I don't want to sit in there and breathe their stupid cigarette smoke, and
Well, that's something that's why you hate. But you know what? Sorry to interrupt you. It's very interesting because you grew up in a household where both of your parents smoked.
Yeah,
and you hate
with the windows closed.
everything.
Oh my God.
And you hate smoking with a passion.
I do.
Yet you grew up with an alcoholic mother, but you still like to drink.
I do.
Most people,
because I'm not an alcoholic. You're
No.
an alcoholic or you're not an alcoholic.
no, but a lot of people that grow up with alcoholic parents, they're I've met people that they don't drink because they say, oh, I grew up like looking at my parents or like my mother or like a sibling or something, like an alcoholic like next to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they saw how that was destroying them, that they really don't care about the alcohol. But I mean, also, she was not your birth mom. So you could have another trait from your mom's side, which also had other kind of addictions, I'm guessing, or we don't know that because you were adopted. So is there, like, did they ever say, or was that a reason why she was drinking? Like, a lot of alcoholics do it to get out of reality because, I mean, at some point, that's how they start, and then they just start building that up.
Well,
Was that something that she said, I'm going to become an alcoholic to escape something, or she was just, all you remember is she's always been drinking?
well, first of all, people, if you're in that, they don't say, that AA doesn't teach you that you don't just become an alcoholic. It's a disease. They say it's a disease, and that it was always hidden inside her that she had this trait. And again, remember, I said they were old. They were older, so they met. They had a great story meeting. I mean, my parents met literally like something you'd see in a movie. My dad was in my adopted parents, but my dad was living in New York City at a high school with 5 friends, and Pearl Harbor happened. And him and all his friends went down and joined the Army. So he went to the war. He fought in World War II. And he met my mother in the USO show. She was a singer in the USO. And so they were recording out. Her and her brother recorded albums. There's all kind of albums. She was in the 1940s and 50s. She was a big singer and artist and did all that stuff. But I mean, at that time they were drinking a lot back then in the 40s, 50s, 60s. They were pounding alcohol. I remember everybody coming over and all the adults just like watch Mad Men. They were just pounding that alcohol. So there wasn't a lot of like governor on that. So, she had that and she couldn't control it. I drink. Yeah, I do. I don't have the thing where I need to drink like that. And so,
will she wake up and need to drink as soon as she woke up?
Not necessarily. No, but she'd go from that to, just passed out drunk by midday on the couch. I mean, it was when I was little. Yeah. But, again, the fights and the big fights and everything were all at night, like late night. That I perceived as late night. I was like 6 or 7. So to me, it was late night. I have no idea. But again, it's not all bad. She did turn herself around and got the help and changed, her life. She ended up living. She passed away. Both of my parents passed away in the same year. My mother died when she was 80, 81 or 80, 81, I think. And my father, not 1981, she was 81 years old. And so she died, and my father passed away. I moved my father in to live with me, and he passed away 7 months later. But he was 3 years older, so he was 83. And this man, again, smoked most of his life, had 4 heart attacks, smoked from the time he was a teenager all the way up until the doctor's like, quit smoking. And he already had 4 heart attacks. He's still sneaking cigarettes here and there. But he made it through life like that. And she actually had to stop smoking because she had a brain aneurysm in the 80s. And so she had to have brain surgery, and she made it through that. So, I mean, this woman physically made it through a lot of stuff.
Yeah. You will think that she will have died from cirrhosis or something.
Yeah,
right?
the liver. Some you would think so, but yeah, no, she didn't. But she physically made it through a lot of different things. But I think if you have an addiction, it's an important thing to seek help. I see a lot.
Identify it.
Yeah, identify the
right?
problem. Yeah, that's what the other thing is. The first thing is identify you have a problem.
Right.
You have to realize that you can't get help until you realize you have a problem.
And this is, I think, for everything, right? Like, if you feel like you're depressed, I mean, we're humans, right? Like we have emotions, but sometimes you have to identify like how depressed you are. Like, seek help. It's okay to seek help. Like, I tell you that all the time. We have our psychiatrists in Europe, right? That it's not that you're crazy, but sometimes it makes a whole difference between you got it after COVID, you started having panic attacks, right? And I told you, please, let's go see the psychiatrist. And you were like, no, I don't want to be on pills. I'm like, babe, but it's not normal that you're just walking down the street and suddenly you have a panic attack. And you're on some medication that helps you, your anxiety and panic attacks. Like mine, I also have anxiety with other kind of depression related issues, and I take medication for that, and it's okay. I think it's important, like you say, identify that you have a problem and seek help, because I could be coping instead of taking my pills. I could be coping with alcohol. That's what I was asking about your mom. A lot of people actually do not seek professional help and try to cope with their issues, their problems, or their depression with alcohol or drugs or everything else, and then you become addicted to that, right? Which is horrible. I mean, alcohol, I can't, when you have a hangover, like, why would you want to just keep going over and over and over with that? Like,
yeah, I don't know if she was drinking because of issues. I do know that she had, before she adopted me, she had 6 miscarriages. So, but I don't know. Was she drinking to cope with the fact that she was trying to be a biological mother and could not get pregnant? Or while she was pregnant all those times, was she still drinking and smoking
and that triggered the
and that triggered all that? I don't know. I never asked about any of that. I was way too young at the time. I didn't ask any of those questions. But I mean, you look back and you try to analyze that. I don't know which one was which.
Right.
But I certainly can understand. Like I said, I've never had panic attacks in my life, and after COVID,
unless you were in a closed space.
Yeah, unless I was in a closed space. COVID rewired a lot of people's brains and bodies and everything else. And so after having COVID twice, that was weird. I remember when it started happening to me, we were living in New York, and it happened once in our kitchen in our apartment, but it also happened. And I thought, okay, well, maybe it's in the apartment. I just felt closed in, whatever. But then it happened in Central Park.
Well, to be fair, that's a scary place with a lot of scary people.
No, but we were walking. It wasn't. But we loved the park. We used to walk the park every day with the puppies.
That was in the middle of the day. It was
in the middle of the day, and we were just walking. It was a beautiful day, and we were walking under some terrace portico kind of thing.
Kind of like a tunnel, yeah?
Yeah, what even a tunnel
No,
thing?
it was like the wooden structure,
like a
right?
structure
by the lake.
Right by the lake. Yeah, we're just walking by with the puppies, and all of a sudden, it felt like the structure was closing in on me. It was freaking me out. And I was like, I'm not a person that gets freaked out. I don't get scared with things, and I don't get freaked out over things. And that really, it was like this weird feeling where it was closing in on me. And I'm like, oh my God, we're having this panic attack here again. That is like, and again, that never happened before COVID. Never happened to me ever before COVID. So, that was the thing that was so freaked out to me, and you got me on the medication, and I was like,
Well,
okay,
yeah, I made you go through it because I thought I saw you every day you were waking up, and I could see the anxiety filling you up, and I was like, this is, babe, I love you with all my heart, but you're acting like a lunatic.
yeah,
I can't take this. You're not. It's not you. And we took you to a psychiatrist, and yeah, he said, yeah, like you're having this pattern, and again, you could be fine today and suffer from depression next year. Like it's just chemical imbalances in your brain that happens to everybody, right?
yeah,
It's a lot of studies that have to be done again about our brain and chemicals in our brain, but I I really I appreciate that you listen to me
yeah. I think
and
if
we're on
you
the
have
medication now.
any kind of addiction or any kind of problems, or you're feeling alone, suicidal, whatever, please seek help. There are a lot of things that
There's a lot of
a lot of
hotlines.
helplines and stuff that you can call that don't even cost any money. Just call and talk to someone, or if you're call a friend, someone that's a true friend that will talk to you and help you, and maybe help you get the help that you need to get. And I have a lot of people on friends of mine on Facebook and people I know that have had to deal with alcohol issues and have sought ways to through AA or whatever their way is. They've gotten sober and are doing fine, doing fantastic. They feel much better, having a great life, and they didn't need that. So if that's you, then please get the help you need. But people have problems. People can overcome those problems and hopefully have a better life. And that's what my mom ended up doing.
And God bless your dad, babe.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I never met the guy, and I wish I would have met Andrew. But wow, like pull through that till the end
Yeah.
and still love that woman after she tried to kill him several times
Yeah.
when she was drunk, and the fact that she died because she was gone,
Yeah.
like that's
Well, he knew her since, like I said, since
True
World War
love.
II. And, his last few months of his life where he would I had a house in Dallas at the time, and he would just sit out in my back and on my back porch and look at the pool and stare at the waterfalls and just sit there and just, I could see it. He was miserable. He'd spent 50 something years with this woman, and like she was gone. And so he didn't know what to do at that point. And he passed away, like I said, 7 months later. But, it was like it was an interesting story, an interesting time, and like I said, it's a great. Lucky for me that they adopted me, because God knows what would have happened to me if they didn't. But so everything's a gamble. It didn't turn me into a serial killer. It didn't turn me into a lunatic.
a little bit of a lunatic sometimes.
Shit happens in this world, and if it happens, it happens. So. Anyway, speak of happening, this is happening every Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, a brand new episode. They're not all depressing. Hopefully this wasn't that depressing. And it's on YouTube. Subscribe for free. Also, every other podcast platform. We are there.